Alright guys, so the first kind of food you need to avoid is corn and corn-based products. That means tortilla shells, taco shells, high fructose corn syrup, which is a chemical they put into just a lot of foods. It's an addictive product that spikes your blood sugar. Things like processed foods, oftentimes corn-fed meat. You can look, this is why grass-fed meat is a popular thing, because you can actually notice in the coloring of the meat that corn-fed beef, for example, is not as red as grass-fed beef, and the fat doesn't look as healthy. And that's because corn's not the natural kind of food that cows are supposed to be eating, and the main reason that they end up eating corn instead of grass is because the government subsidizes corn, so these beef producers can get corn to feed the cows cheaper than they can grass, which seems insane because you think grass is just laying on the ground, like they could just go eat grass, but it's actually cheaper for them to feed the cows corn. But that gets into your system, it messes up the hormonal balance of the meat as well. And the primary reason this is a bad type of food to be eating is it spikes your blood sugar, which is going to cause you to have a lot of issues, as well as it is high in starch, and high in starch foods are the ones that are going to cause you to store fat. That's why if you're trying to lose weight, they say eat sweet potatoes rather than like regular white potatoes, because white potatoes are going to have high starch and they cause you to store fat, basically. By the way, if you're new to my channel, my name is Keith. Made this channel to help men create their ideal lives through self-mastery. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos, because I put out new videos every single day. So the second kind of food that you need to avoid: sodas, sugar-free drinks, and fruit drinks. I'm putting all of them in here. I've told people a lot of times to stop drinking soda, and then they switch over to the sugar-free drinks, which you'd think is better, because I tell people not to eat soda because soda's high in sugar. But the problem with sugar-free drinks is it's twofold. First of all, is the sugary taste of the drink still causes a placebo effect in your brain, which causes you to store fat, whereas drinking water doesn't do that, because it doesn't trigger the same chemicals in your brain. Also, sugar-free drinks have a lot of chemicals put into them to give that sweet flavor without the sugar, and the problem with that is it messes with the brain chemistry in your brain. And you can actually notice this if you drink these for long enough. If you're consistently drinking them, you might experience more brain fog, harder time focusing, lots of things like that. And once you get off them, you might start to notice that goes away pretty quickly. These sugar-free drinks also cause cancer as well. So perhaps on an external level, you look better than if you were just drinking regular soda, but it's killing you from the inside, so you want to avoid those. And then fruit drinks like orange juices and things like that often have sugar added to them, which you don't want. And even still, they're very high in sugar, whereas fruit itself, the actual berry, for example, doesn't have, it has sugar in it, but it's less concentrated, and you get more of the vitamins and things like that out of it. So eating the whole fruit is more preferred than eating the fruit drink. Honestly, this is a point I want to make to people. Eating healthy is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world, obviously. But it's not about necessarily having a perfect diet as much as it is eliminating bad things. The same way, in order to be successful in life, you don't have to work harder than everybody. You just have to eliminate all the distractions, and you can get more done. Eliminate all the bad foods, these like really bad foods, and you'll do significantly better. But we live in the first time in human history where just living your day-to-day life, you're not going to be in great shape, because we live in a world where all the food's processed. It's got tons of bad stuff in it, because the whole system is set up to try and make as much money as possible, so they fill the food with crap, and then you eat that and you're unknowing about it. And then most of the jobs these days are desk jobs, and we spend our time watching TV and things like that, and we don't have to do as much physical labor. So the need to exercise is now, it's an individual's responsibility to be aware of the food they're eating and be aware of how they're taking care of their physical body when it comes to exercise, because you're not doing labor gigs out in the fields or something like that, and the food's just not made well. So you have to become consciously aware of these things. And look, it's not the easiest thing, but if you want to be successful in this world, you can't do what all the lazy people are doing, so you're going to have to take some action. The third thing I've got down here, the majority of cereals. So like go on the cereal aisle, you're going to see all the ones in the boxes. The ones in the boxes, about 99% of them are bad for you. Then if you go to the end of the aisle, you're probably going to find a bunch of bagged cereals that look like granola, for example. The granola cereals are less likely to have a bunch of added sugars and other things involved, like high fructose corn syrup, for example, which is in a lot of cereals. You're going to be a lot less likely to find all of those things in them. So one cereal I can recommend, there's a brand called Love Crunch. It is more expensive than having Cheerios, for example, but it's going to be a lot healthier for you. It's a granola cereal with natural sugar from dark chocolate in it. Tastes a lot, I think it tastes better than all these other cereals anyways, but it's a good alternative. I used that when I was doing my cut last year to get ready for summer. I've recommended that to some of my clients as well. It's a good product to have. The fourth one you got here, bread and pasta, at least that's not whole grain. Whole grain's a start. If you want to eat bread that's whole grain, that's decent. But I would still recommend just cutting bread out as much as possible. Pasta, on the other hand, there are certain pastas they've started to make that are like lentil pastas, and lentil pastas don't affect your body the same way that these grain pastas do. It comes down to the way they're, like, the type of carb that it is. It's a slow digesting carb, which allows your body to use the energy more effectively, whereas these refined carbs that you find in like white bread or regular pastas cause a spike in your blood sugar, and then your body just stores all that energy as fat really quickly, whereas these slow burning ones allow your body to use that energy up throughout the whole day. So you want to get onto the lentil pastas if you're going to be doing it, and you still don't want to have a ton of it, but that's certainly way better. The fifth and final kind of food you want to avoid, preservative-laden foods, and preservatives are in a lot of foods. Honestly, I recommend, for the most part, with very few exceptions, you should shop, when you go to the grocery store, shop around the outside of the store. So you go like dairy aisle, get your eggs and cheeses or whatever, then hit the meat section, then hit the vegetables and the fruit section, and most of the stuff in the middle, with some exceptions, things like nuts or some cereals like I was talking about, things like that. For the most part, though, you want to shop around the outside of the store, because everything in the middle of the store is going to be full of preservatives. And the problem with preservatives, well, first of all, they're processed foods, and when they put all these things in them, like high fructose corn syrup, all these different chemicals your body's not supposed to be having in it, it's all about saving money for these companies, basically. So they put all these different things in it that cause your body's chemistry to get all screwed up. One thing you can do to avoid preservative-laden foods is look for foods that have less than 5 ingredients on the label. That's usually a good sign, unless it's just some sort of recipe food, like some pre-made like meat dish that you're buying around that from like the meat section. I know they make some kind of things that are like already pre-seasoned and stuff like that. Unless you're getting something like that, if it has more than 5 ingredients on it, then it's probably got preservatives in it. And if you're reading it and the words are like a fucking foot long, then it's definitely got preservatives in it, and you should avoid that. But guys, that's the 5 main foods that I think you should avoid. I tried to find a couple on here that I didn't think you'd probably heard of before, like corn, for example. But like I said, eliminating the foods that are bad for you is a lot easier than getting on some crazy strict diet of what's good for you, and you'll get way better results. I think most people, and when I talk to clients that I've coached in the past on fitness, most guys aren't looking to be world-class bodybuilders. We just don't want to be out of shape, and we want to feel confident when we take our shirts off and we want to have some muscle on us, basically. And avoiding foods is the way to go when you want to do that. If you want to be some world-class bodybuilder, obviously you're going to have to be meticulous with everything that you eat. But I honestly very rarely follow a super strict diet, and I feel like I'm in really great shape, and it's because I just don't eat all the bad stuff. So start cutting out all this bad stuff and see the results come in. And guys, if you want me to do a video on 5 foods that you actually think are bad for you that are actually good for you, leave a comment down below and I'll do that video. Again, guys, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. If you got something out of it, give me a like so that I can reach more guys with my message, and I'll see you tomorrow.